Welcome to the Ramon Foster Show, starring the one and only Ramon Foster, and brought to you as always by our friends at the Get Go Cafe and Market, where they are open for business 24/7 with hot, fresh food. Moan, what's going on this happy Tuesday?
Again, not a whole lot, man. I like to call it second Mondays sometimes, depending on if some people just don't decide to go to work on a Monday morning. So second Monday.
Second Monday is so depressing for such a happy guy to have come up with. Why?
It just is. I've always dealt with the fact that I know some people just say, screw Mondays. So guess what we'll do? We'll do second Monday in case you needed extra Sunday to get ready for a new Monday.
No. Well, on this particular second Monday, the big news in the National Football League is that Aaron Rodgers is staying put in Green Bay, a 4-year deal that covers $200 million, 153 of which is guaranteed. Moan, He was never going to go anywhere, was he?
No. Power play. So many things that I can say, and we will say about Aaron Rodgers, throughout this Ramon Foster show and just us doing these shows, man, is the fact that we got to dive into, a lot of what Aaron Rodgers has done. He's a very dynamic guy. I can't even, the trump card he has over me, be me in the Super Bowl. He's got his one ring is from our game. So he has that. But if I were to ask you what's happened since then, he's gotten 3 MVPs. His team has made it to the NFC Championship, I think maybe once, twice. They were bounced from the playoffs in the divisional round after having a first round bye, the only bye on the NFC side. So I appreciate his talents and what he's capable of doing. But most times when guys get deals like this is because of what they've already done. Right. And for him, honestly, to have Green Bay bend the knee, boy, you want to talk about a shift of powers in Green Bay. And I kind of correlated by saying he's looking at that community-owned team in Green Bay and saying, I own you. Maybe not on the billions, but you did exactly what I needed you to do. I don't think Pittsburgh would ever get to a point to do something like that. But on the other side of what we're doing, he raised the floor. Not just for the quarterbacks, but for all positions to say, guys, get what you want out of this league money-wise. If you're afforded that type of power, raise the floor at your position. I think in general, he's raised the floor for all salaries with guys in the NFL. So for one side of them, man, do your thing. The other side of it is when is enough when you continue to run the headlines, Aaron Rodgers? Because everything you ever wanted out of life, you could have actually already gotten it with what you've already made. I know some guys say, man, you get addicted to flying first. You get addicted to flying first class, and then you go to private. Well, maybe he wants to buy a private jet. I think you and I both believe if he wanted to really buy a private jet, he could have. So what is he searching for? He's had everything he's ever asked for almost in Green Bay. So you mean to tell me the money that he's getting right now is going to keep Devontae or afford their salary, the cap situation to get him more weapons, which is always complained about? I don't know if that's going to be the case.
Yeah, see, that's where you get into the power of the quarterback. If I can play devil's advocate here, though, with you said you see a quarterback have a franchise over the knee. I'm not sure Ben ever had the Steelers over his knee, but Moan, let's not presume here or suggest that Ben didn't have a significant amount of control over the Steelers situation.
No, I won't be naive to say that he didn't. Most quarterbacks do, but I say the biggest thing that Ben wanted was more weapons. You could correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if money has always been on the forefront of those decisions. He also said that he wanted to get paid once or twice, but he never strung the Steelers along in that sense. Now,
no, not once.
I know some people say he's always had the idea of, retiring. Well, people always ask those questions to him. Of course, I'm going to answer him in that sense too. I think once you reach a certain point in your career, if you'd asked me, DK Moan, where are you on retirement? I'm more than sure I've said it in some situations. Man, that door is more closed than it is open. That's okay to acknowledge that, look, you're on your downward spiral into retirement. I don't know if Ben's done that. I think when you ask for more weapons, that's a team concept. Tell me if I'm wrong on that one.
Oh, I'm not going to, especially when you're talking about the Packers needing to bring Davante Adams back. And I think if you look at Ben's approach in his last season, when Art Rooney went to Ben and said,
Mm-hmm.
hey, listen, we want you to take a pay cut here, but here's why.
Mm-hmm.
We want to keep this. We want to keep. Now, never mind that I don't feel that the Steelers held up their end of that
Right.
at all. I mean, they did not address the offensive line the way they should have, et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
However, conceptually, from Ben's perspective, which is what we're talking about, he did that. You're suggesting here, I don't want to put words in your mouth here. It's
Okay.
the Ramon Foster show, but you're suggesting here that Aaron Rodgers was looking out for Aaron Rodgers instead of saying, hey, I'm tired of not winning Super Bowls. It's been a long time since I won one.
That's the way it seems to me. I could be wrong if I had to sit down with him, but that's the way it seems to me. What's gotten out of this conversation from Aaron Rodgers the last 2 offseasons? He wanted power. He got it. He wanted to be considered as far as front office, the moves that make. He did that this past offseason. He got Randall Cobb out of Houston, Texas to his team. And if I'd have asked you, would you want Randall Cobb respectfully on your team? You'd have said, nah, can we find somebody else? But he wanted his Friday buddies together, and he got that also. And on top of that, he also got a bag. So I know, look, if Aaron Rodgers had decided, look, I'm passing on Green Bay and Pittsburgh got him, I'd have been appreciative of him because I know the talent. But I don't know if he'd have had that same power, that same struggle of controlling his narratives as much as he'd like to, because now he's got Green Bay on a public perception by weekly going on Pat McAfee's show, by being able to control the airwaves and all of the offseason that said, Green Bay, do as I say. And he's gotten that. Now, if he doesn't get a ring, the same way as we've spoken about, look, it had to work for the LA Rams. It had to work, because had it not, you, me, everybody else would have said, aha. Now, Aaron, the pressure's on you. I don't know if you can actually ask for any more weapons anymore. You're the $50 million guy.
Yeah.
This is on you.
You are the weapon.
You're the weapon. So what is he going to do about Devontae? I think he holds Devontae now. Can he get a long-term deal? Or does he get franchise tag? And that's a nice franchise tag. But can he actually get a long-term deal because of Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah. I mean, you talk about controlling the narrative too. There's no way to avoid mentioning that maybe, possibly, the Steelers in a third-party kind of way got played here a little bit too, because somebody from the Rodgers camp went to Mike Florio at Pro Football Talk and had him lay that story out about the 3 teams that he'd been in contact with, which of course would have been totally illegal. Okay. Never mind. I mean, that somehow only was parenthetically acknowledged. Like, you actually can't do the thing that's being mentioned in that story, but you throw the Steelers in there because it gets a little more attention. Why? Because it's the Steelers.
You know they're looking for a guy. If I ask all of Pittsburgh, and we can comment right now, would you have taken Aaron Rodgers over Mason Rudolph? 100%, 97%, 95% would probably say yes.
Everybody but Mason and his friends.
And it ain't wrong. Let's be real here. That's the other side of it. Let's be real here about that. But the ring is now on you, Aaron. Go get it.
When we come back, we're going to talk about guaranteed money. One of Moan's favorite topics, guaranteed money. Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show, brought to you by the Get-Go Cafe and Market. Moan, there's a lot of different subjects we're going to be talking about on the Ramon Foster Show now that it's daily, on a regular basis. None of them will hit near and dear to your heart quite like guaranteed money.
Yeah.
As a former NFLPA rep, I know how much that means to everybody who's been fighting that fight pretty much in vain for a lot of years here. Rodgers got $153 million out of his $200 million guaranteed. How does that change the broader dialogue on this subject for the union and for the league moving forward? That's a lot of guaranteed money.
And so it's 2 things. I won't say it's a few things around the guaranteed money. One is this. there's no such thing as you can't negotiate a guaranteed contract.
Right.
That's the biggest part of it. You can negotiate it. That comes down person to person, agent to agent, team to team. That's simply how that works. One answer of that. Two, it also comes down to the power play of the player. How much power do you have to be able to get that win? I think one of the first guys I can remember while I was playing that got a guaranteed deal, and we were talking about it a little bit before we started up, was Kirk Cousins. He was fire hot leaving Washington. Fire hot. Minnesota needed a quarterback. He negotiated a fully guaranteed, I think, $84 million contract. Yes, all money guaranteed. The thing is also with the guaranteed contracts is this. Most of the time, because football is such a quotation mark high-risk sport, you have to negotiate for shorter times then too. Aaron Rodgers, 4 for $200 million. Okay, in years past, you would have had a 6-year, $200 million with it spread over the amount of time that you were going to have it. Mm-hmm. So then you got to ask yourself, well, if I do, let's say somebody does a 2 for 30 as a receiver or a tight end, 2 for 30. Well, what happens if you devalue yourself and then you go renegotiate after those 2 years are up? The thing about doing contracts is this. You want it mostly guaranteed, or you want all of the money, or you want it to where you're set at a floor to where when I'm done with this contract, if I'm making $10 million, then my next contract says I'm supposed to be making 15 to 14. Now, what if I have a bad year or something like that? Then my value goes down. If you're locked into a long contract, longer term contract, with money involved in it already, you allow yourself to continue to get paid. I think that's a lot of what some guys are looking for also, is how long can I continue to get paid also in my contract? Instead of doing a 2 for 20, let's do a 4 for 36. That way I'll get 3 years and I'm on a roster. I got a guaranteed check. Screw the last part of it. But it honestly goes down to the power of the player just being real with you.
I'll tell you, there's a lot of things that I like and love actually about the NFL system. One of them, and I really feel like I should underscore this here, is that Green Bay, which is about the size of Irwin, okay, it's the smallest market in professional sports in North America, can sign a player to this contract, and there's just no whatever. Oh, yeah, of course, the Packers did.
Of course,
yeah,
we got it.
Why? Because the NFL salary cap keeps these things even. But on the other hand, the NFL and the lack of guaranteed contracts, I understand every reason that the teams put forward and the owners put forward. It's a 53-man roster. Like you said, it's health and everything else here. But it's also the shortest careers. Look at running backs. Now, again, nobody's going to play a violin
after
for running backs because they're big stars and they come in and everybody's talking about them. But they're gone, Moan. After half a decade, the best of them are gone. And I just wonder what it's going to take for players to get guaranteed deals at some point in the National Football League.
You know what it's going to take? Let's go back to suspect number one and his position. When we negotiated the NFLPA, the CBA, and there's talks about rule changes, nothing moves the tickers. Even go back to the 90s. They had the quarterback club. Why? Because the quarterbacks control the market. They control the media. They control what's said. You go to almost any stadium, TV. There's usually a quarterback mostly. I bet you there's 32 quarterbacks on the front of stadiums because they have the power to. I've said it for time. I love being a rep. I love NFLPA rep, the union. I loved it because I love serving my guys. But let me tell you this. Had Ben, had Aaron, had Russell, had Peyton, had Eli, had Tom walked into those meetings and said, hey, slam on the table. We're not moving the muscle until y'all do as we say. Instead of having me, a no accolade, a nice starter. People in Pittsburgh love me. I'm a fun guy, though. I have a lot of respect around this league. But I don't move the ticker like a quarterback does. And not just the quarterbacks, but the superstars. Where's Odell? Where's Greg Olsen? Yeah. Where are those guys that say, hey, no, we're fighting for the guys, not just us, because I'm going to be all right. That's what those guys feel. Aaron is okay when we're talking about guaranteed money. But let's talk about when they walk in the room, they get the voices and they get the ears of everybody in that room because they hold the power. It will not happen until we get unified from them down. Not the owner. Screw the coaches. Screw the GM. Screw the scouts. It's the quarterbacks. There's a pecking order when it comes down to these type of things. When we're talking about the head of organizations. Yes, the owner. Bam. Cool. We'd expect this the GM and the coach. It's usually owner, it's usually the franchise quarterback, and then it's everybody else.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Let's be real about that.
Nothing's going to change on that front until NFL players are rallied
from
the top down. And that's the top, is the quarterback. No question about that. When we come back, it's our Hey Mon subject, and it's one that you will not want to miss. Back to the Ramon Foster Show. It's time for Hey Mon! And today's comes from CJ Kalazy, who says, Hey Mon, what's your favorite Coach T analogy or turn of phrase or story? And then he puts in parentheses, that you can share on the air.
It's so many, man.
I love the qualifier.
Yeah, we've heard of the best one, and it's very graphic, but it's so true. Don't blink, man. I'll cut your eyelids off. That's always
gross.
One of my.
I've heard that one.
It's so good, but I love it. The other one is when guys are in a real tight competition. It's 2 dogs, 1 bone, and it was basically that's one bone. I've always admired that about Coach T. You never have to question where you are, because if you don't eat, the other guy is gonna get the bone, and you just stuck on the sideline hoping and wishing.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, that's a Latrobe special with him. That is when he's got guys in competition. Right there in front of him on the field at Chuck Noll Field there, that he wants them thinking that way.
Oh, no doubt about it. The one I use a lot in my with my kids and just anybody too is don't live in your fears. Meaning, I don't know what's about to happen, but if you scared, stay your punk. You know what in the locker room. We have no time for that. We're gonna take this face first. Another one that he always uses, I didn't even think about this: throw your face in the fan. Especially we talked about Joe Hayden yesterday, him being a tough guy. Like, that's one of the things he would say to guys that were real timid about being physical: throw your face in that fan, man. Like, let's go. The other ones, a person is the same. I want the same person when everybody else gets funny. That means you got to level up.
He used that line with Ben Roethlisberger late in the season. He's the same when everybody else gets a little bit funny.
Yes, exactly. And if I can say this one too, it's hey, let your nuts hang and let's go.
It's your show, Mon. You can say anything.
Look, let your nuts hang and let's just go. It's understood.
Said that to you?
Whatever's what he said to me was basically the same thing in a different text. For 2 or 3 years straight, when I was just becoming a starter, I got worked like my rookie year in camp, and every day for about 3 years, coached every practice, every single practice. Mon, don't take it. And I got so tired of it, but I never was mad at it. I understood. Mon, if you want to be on this team, don't take it even at practice, not in a game, nowhere. I loved it. And we found a new guy every single year is the don't take it guy. And those guys stayed around. Mike Hilton was a don't take it guy. Every day for a year, Mike Hilton was told don't take it. And the grandest of them all, I think it pulls you back to the business of the game too. Until we started, editing it ourselves, is the more you can do, the longer you stay around. And that's true. If you can play guard and tackle, awesome. If you can be a DB and be on special teams, even better. The more you can do, the longer you stay around. Until we realize, well, if I'm doing more than one position, then I'm getting paid less. So we changed it to the more you can do, the less you get paid. Because they pay position-specific guys. If I'm a guard, at least I know I can be paid like a guard. But if I'm a slot DB and I'm also a special teamer, who am I being paid like?
Yeah, you're down the depth chart.
I'm down on the depth chart.
I have to ask you, because we talked about it off camera. What was this McDonald's one? This is not, I've not
Oh,
heard about this.
he would tell guys be the same. He was like, now listen, I don't care what country you go to. You guys have traveled the world. Be a
Yeah.
number one in McDonald's. And we looking around what they mean. The number one in McDonald's is the same in London, China, America, LA, New York, Miami. It's a Big Mac on every
It
McDonald's
is number
menu.
one. Yeah.
Be consistent. Know what I can expect out of you. If I pull up to you and I ask you to run this play, be a number one in McDonald's. A level of consistency.
Wow. Well, we all know that there's a fine line between drinking wine and squashing grapes, Moan. But at the same time, we want volunteers here and not hostages. So on that note, we're gonna end today's Ramon Foster show. And I'm guessing we're gonna get plenty of appeals to continue this particular subject well into the future. Let's do it again tomorrow, Moan.
Absolutely.